Oh, sorry, go to
Testing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Do you see subtitles coming across my computer, Brian? Do we see subtitles coming across? I think we might need to turn the subtitles back on. So the audio is coming through. We have audio. Do we have subtitles now?
Yes.
All right. Testing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Good morning. Good morning, Nancy. Good morning, Olga. Testing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's a long delay. Okay, good. No, so it's live on HHTV and inside here and on YouTube. Those are our only choices.
Lisa, do you need this information? Carol Roach just
Yeah,
called. She's not on deck.
You're right there.
Yeah, and I have her. I
Q&A
am going to, yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, we changed the slide.
Yeah. So that's, I'm glad to hear the dinner was. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I guess I mixed up.
Love your shoe. Okay.
You know, I decided to try learning whether we could.
What size are they? Oh. Nancy Olson. Nancy and me mixed. Yeah.
They're really, the spots are really bright right now.
I'm gonna write down those. Be here.
It's. I don't, are the, is dimmer not?
Like, keep me there for 15 minutes. Well, no, she, I did want to get my checked. I mean, I'm wearing these braces, so I had to replace this, and then she's pretty, but she's in my case. Okay, so it's, winter, and then. And then.
I think I got some.
That was a chance. Yeah.
Checking everybody off.
Yes, you wanna kick me off? Check me off?
Okay, so we did get any feedback, but. I'll make sure.
Yeah. Don't see her.
Yeah.
This is like my.
Here. You're responsible to name the person who follows you. We don't get up and introduce Linda Merritt. Yeah. And she's not gonna get up, but she's here.
Okay.
So you need to just say Linda Merritt's name.
Okay, sure. I can do that.
She's on here twice.
Good for her.
Yeah.
Oh, you're
This one.
Oh, you guys have her right now.
Nancy?
Yeah. Well. And you yeah, You get permission.
Oh.
Winter wonderland. Yes. I thought about it.
I'm gonna turn this on for a minute.
Okay, this meeting is called to order. Last meeting of the year, 2022. Welcome, everybody, and thanks for coming. On today's agenda, we have the CEO's report. Keep going. This is an important announcement, apparently. Here we go. So we're going to have maybe some questions and answers here a bit, and then the annual report of the council activities of the year, the final results of the ERF Drive, a spotlight on our Wednesday night live committee, and several announcements, of course. So let's get started. Mike?
Great, thank you. Isn't it fun to be in this space? Yeah, I love it. It's just very different for any of us that are standing here versus in some other place, because you really have the audience here. So encourage your friends to be here. Need to wear masks, that's good, but let's get out of our homes and into space. Handful of bright spots. I think it was last week we had the art studio sale. I went down, found a nice piece of art that I will have somewhere in my house. And I was really impressed with how many artists we have here. Sometimes you just don't realize the creativity of people until there's an event that puts it on display. So to visit the art studio, participate in the art studio, and buy some art. The holiday party, I think, was a terrific hit. Of course, that's a great thing. We had to make that happen, and our staff was very hopefully something that residents enjoyed as well. Week, I think it was the exercise and mobility center. We really want to over time build this as where we are able to help residents identify what their balance issue might be and be able to offer some clear prescriptive on things they could do to improve balance. The biggest things that keep people from living independently. So if we can help with that, we want to help with that. So check it out. Andrew Harris is an awesome guy. He will help you through the process and see that you might be able to improve in your mobility through some sort of strengthening and or coaching and whatever. Of course, we had our Anderson Hall grand opening. We've been doing some kind of partying a little bit, right? I've noticed that if we offered food and beverage, I know how to do it. It's taken me a while, but I know the key. And we'll do some more of this too for his display again. Of the dining room, as well as right there at the host. And he showed me pictures of being down in the whether it was room or somewhere, pieces to do this. So we're going to capture those pictures and share them with you at another time. But here is somebody who here's a game plan. He takes this on himself because he wants to create it. So I know everyone enjoys it, and this is one more. So be sure to comment to him, inspire him to do stuff. On the 6th of December, we had a people from an organization called Caring Communities here. Caring Communities is a consortium of CCRCs, continuing care retirement communities, life plan communities around the country that form an essentially insurance company. So it's a captive insurance company. So in the past, we have had some of our casualty and liability insurance carried by a or whomever. A couple of years ago, we switched to this organization, Caring Community. It's kind of like an invitational thing. They don't bring people into the mix unless you are of a certain caliber and quality, because they don't want to dilute the pool with. And at first, I kind of poo-pooed the notion that this would be like some big value add to the organization, even though they had talked about their value add. I'd worked with insurance companies for years, and it was like, yeah, I've heard that before. Well, they are incredible. They are all about helping us understand where to focus our improvements to ensure that we reduce any kind of liability for Horizon House, and ultimately how we keep residents safe. It was just a blowaway session of conversation about things to do differently, whether it was fall prevention, whether it was, how you organize rooms, and just all sorts of information that a bunch of people participated throughout the course of a full day. And we learned a lot. So a real value added provider to Horizon House. The CEO search continues until they find somebody, right? The summary of the focus group activities from the DEFIT group that took place, 6 weeks or so ago, is now on the admin board in the mailroom, and it's in the library in a binder. So if you would like to go and take a look at how they summarize their visit, that opportunity is there. The point is, you'll see some stuff in there. It's like, gee, what did that person say that for, or whatever. The point is that you walk away from that saying, for the most part, they understood the community. They captured the kinds of comments that reflect an understanding, so that it will ultimately influence their observation of candidates and who might be a good fit here. I think they're doing a great job. It's a long process. That's just the nature of the beast. But I think there's a great opportunity for residents to feel like they were heard, and go look at the material and confirm for yourself. The resident satisfaction surveys went out yesterday, and if you didn't get something, then see Beth. She will make sure that she gets you hard copy or email copy, right?
Not to everyone email.
Okay.
And if they did not have email, they got a letter in their copy explaining how to do the survey. Okay.
So if you have a question on it, you can certainly ask Beth, because she's been instrumental in this process. Your point of view and opinions matter. We listen, we do respond. We may not, be as successful sometimes as we want, and in other areas, maybe we are. It's great that we have the North Tower elevators working. We know how important that is, right? Yeah, that's kind of like, I will recommend to the new CEO that if you don't do anything well, do one thing well. That is, make sure that the elevators work. Let's see. Oh yeah, and those surveys are due next Friday on December 30th. So if you could get those in, that way we can kind of tally them and understand how people think. And we hope that notwithstanding the challenges that that we try to work through these things, we try to fix these things. Sometimes they take longer than we would like. We had a situation over the weekend, late on a Friday, where a contractor nicked a pipe because they were doing, some work in an apartment. And then of course that forced us to shut down heat, and everybody goes into the deep freeze. It certainly wasn't intentional. They were using a magnetic scope to figure out where a pipe was. It didn't read out. Sure enough, they hammer up and whoops, I guess there's a pipe there after all. It's the challenge of working in older buildings. There's a lot of unforeseen conditions. It's not like we're doing sloppy work. It's that sometimes it's just hard to work in older buildings. But everybody worked hard to try to get that back online. It took longer than we'd like, but we did. The CEO monthly report will come out here again at the next month. And again, just another way in which you can kind of stay in touch. We have many ways that we try to communicate information. And so if somebody isn't aware of what's going on, then chances are they might not be aware of the various channels that they can use, whether it's in print, online, in the cubby, wherever, to capture information about what we're doing here. Because we want to keep everybody informed, and we have multiple ways of doing it. short of like the Goodyear blimp going by with a big message on it. Okay, I think that's it. And any questions of me? Yes, Olga.
What's happening? Give us some specifics on the West End Tower.
So I'm in the process of putting together an update for the West Tower. We have spent time with our finance committee last week and reviewed some more of both the budget and the structure. And I think I left off with, hey, we had a lot of questions, a lot of concerns. We've worked through those, and we are going down a path of the West Tower for recommending to our board to take the next incremental approval step in our February board meeting. I will send out an update. It's in review right now. So hopefully by the end of this week, first part of next, everyone will get a copy that kind of describes that. And it will also have a little bit of a timeline of the process. My expectation is that things kick off for more discussion following that February board meeting. But yes, we are moving forward with a tower, and it will get more attention at our February board meeting. Am I answering your question, Olga, sufficiently? No? So I'll say it again. We are going forward to the board in February for the next incremental approval. There are a lot of off-ramps to this project. It's not like a single, it's a go. It's a go, and then you make some progress, you continue to go until you get to a point where there is a point of no return, where you just say, hey, we borrowed money, we got, shovels in people's hands, there's no turning back. We are a fair amount of ways away from that. So the next incremental approval happens in February. My expectation is that we will continue to move forward with this tower. And we will talk a little bit more detail when I send that message out in the update. Yeah.
This may apply to many of us. Many years ago, when we moved in, we were encouraged to have excess liability insurance for our apartment. For if something happens to somebody who's in the apartment as a guest, as a worker, that then they would be covered with my insurance. Is that true?
You do not. The only insurance that you really need to have is insurance for your personal possessions in your apartment. You could have insurance to cover the liability if a fellow resident or outsider, not a contractor, slipped and fell in your apartment and hurt themselves and put you at risk. But I would say that's a pretty low probability, and I wouldn't worry about that. I think it's mostly about your own possessions. If a contractor falls in your apartment, that's us. But if somebody from the outside, your neighbor comes and visits and they were to fall and have an injury, conceivably you could be at risk. I think it's a pretty low probability, but it's everybody's choice as to what they're comfortable with. Personally, I wouldn't see that as a high risk worth insuring. Yep.
Hi, I live in the Central Tower, and I actually I got a nice phone call from Mike yesterday, but I'm very perplexed as to why someone on the management team did not send out a variety of communications when a thing happened on Friday as we go into this below freezing kind of weekend. And there were lots of talk in the hallways, and there were rumors about why there wasn't heat. But when we don't hear from management, then rumors fill the void.
Of course, good point. Our mistake. We had a conversation about that. The people were focusing on the work and didn't pay close enough attention to the communication process. So we had a little meeting about that yesterday to talk through. That's kind of a misstep that just shouldn't happen. So you're right. We should have had that conversation immediately when we knew about it so we could take the issue off the table, and we didn't, and we need to make sure that that doesn't happen again. Anybody else? Over there? Fran? The microphone is on its way to you.
How
us understand the issue of the clinic. I know you all are working very hard to attract more people to live at a Horizon House, but the feedback I get on the street is I wouldn't move into a place without a clinic. And when I moved in, there was a doctor and a nurse here.
Sure.
And now we have only the backup from supported living.
So we can take this offline, Fran, but I will say this, there are no other communities that have a clinic. So if somebody says they're not going to move into a senior living community without a clinic, then they don't move into a senior living facility, period, the end. The ability to staff a clinic is not doable anymore. Why? Because nurses don't view this as a career. And you can say, well, gosh, we have needs and we would like to have somebody here to help us. Well, that's just not in the career path of a very constrained market for nurses. It's just not doable. We ran through nurses. Nurses don't want that role. It's not a career path for them. There's that. There's also, it's more of a psychological insurance than it is a practical. The utilization of the clinic statistically just simply was very, very low. And one of the responsibilities we have in the managing of a organization is to allocate resources where demand is. One of the things that we said when we were moving away from the clinic for the reasons I just described is that, well, let's focus on something that's going to matter to people in the long term, and that is helping people with their balance and ensuring that they stay independent living as long as possible. The other thing on the clinic, that the utilization that was there, it was almost exclusively related to medication management. Well, there are lots of ways in which medication management can be handled without the use of a clinic, and that's how all other communities do it. Any other questions? All right, thank you. You know where to find us, and we're always happy to answer more questions. And the next is Linda Merritt.
So today we have 2 minutes that we are going to approve. The minutes of November 15th and the minutes of December 13th, which was our planning meeting. So first, the minutes of November 15th. Are there any further corrections? There being no corrections, the minutes of November 15th stand as approved. So the minutes of December 13th. Everyone has received copies and I have received corrections. Are there any further corrections? There being no corrections, those minutes will stand as approved.
Sorry. I think Diane Tinker is next.
Right. The financial figures, there they are, so you can see them. And you know the details of the financial reports are also posted on HH Connect. So we ended the month today, the net income is $12,481. So we are substantially ahead of budget so far this year because most of our committees, or some of our committees, are not spending all of their budget. But hopefully, now that Anderson Hall is open, we will have more events and the committees will be spending more of their money, and we will end the year closer to our proposed budget. Are there any questions?
You give me an example of some of your expenses in November. Give me an example of your November expenses.
Okay, well, in November, every month we have the director of the Folklore Chorales contracted amount. We had flowers in assisted living. We bought supplies for the sewing room, for the wood shop. We had speakers for diversity awareness. We bought books, new books for the library. We had a speaker for the neighborhood committee. We had Wednesday night programs, $900 total. Environment committee had a speaker. We had tech support, we had a welcoming mixer. We had a wellness speakers. We had expenses for the employee holiday party, over $1,000. We had the last expenses for the Halloween party. We bought supplies for Monday market. We paid our outside accounting firm. And we had a mixer that the Residents Council sponsored the refreshments for. So that those all together total our expenses for the month. They vary every month, but I would say that's a typical month's expenses for Residents Council. Okay. Next up is Jennifer to tell us about Monday Market.
Greetings, everybody. As 2022 comes to an end, the Monday Market continues to do well. We had an active winter and holiday season with many donations and enthusiastic participation by residents and visitors from outside of Horizon House. The previous report from Barbara McHarg covered the market earnings up to November 15th. There were 2 more sales days for November after that, and their deposit total, the gross, was $4,262. That's before taxes. The first market day for December was pretty wild. Several pieces of furniture were sold and holiday items and clothing were popular. The total deposit for the day was $4,038, a record. In addition, the art committee sale organized by Marianne Counts made $2,243, which was gifted to the market. Thus, December was very rich for the market, a total deposit of $11,381. The average weekly gross was $2,505. Year to date, total deposits is $92,712. Horizon Housing. It's important to note that Horizon House employee purchases continue to be an impressive portion of the total, around 16%. The market was represented at the latest new resident orientation to describe the market's basic purposes and operations. Barbara and I put together a table of sales items for the market for the Horizon House open house, the marketing committee's open house. Some people were surprised that there was such a thing here, and other people have already shopped there previously. November 20 and December 18th, the third Sunday of the month, 2 residents modeled clothing during the noon hour of Sunday brunch. We tried to showcase the various fashions available for sale. As previously announced, the market will be closed Monday, December 26th and January 2nd. It will welcome you again on January 9th. The donation bins are now closed and they will reopen on Tuesday, January 3rd. Lastly, we want to thank our volunteers for their hard work and commitment to the smooth functioning of the market. At the same time, we really want to encourage new volunteers. Barbara and I will be available after this meeting out at one of the tables in the lounge in order to discuss options with people and maybe twist a few arms. Please join us at one of the tables in the Fireside Lounge. Thank you all for your various contributions to the Monday Market, and we wish you a happy holidays. And I would like to introduce Nancy McReynolds.
Thanks to the generosity of our Horizon House residents, the Employee Recognition Fund experienced a banner year. Together we raised nearly $500,000 for our hardworking and dedicated employees. To be exact, we were able to distribute a total of $465,576 as a gift to our employees. Together we set a new record. Thank you, and thank you again. During the process of handing out the checks, I made a couple of observations. First of all, how really appreciative our employees are. This gift makes a huge difference in their lives. I can't tell you how many employees have stopped me to tell me how grateful they are. The other thing I became aware of was how few of our employees I recognized. The vast majority of our employees work behind the scenes, either at times of day when we aren't likely to be out and about, or in places that we never go. Finally, I want to take this opportunity to extend a special thank you to those folks who helped make this happen, especially to my co-chair, Sally Wren, and to all those people who helped process checks, stuff cubbies, and distribute checks to employees. Finally, to the staff who gave us support wherever we needed it. This was not the effort of one or two people. It took a village. And question.
Can you tell us the amount received by a full-time person? Because it's a praiseworthy comment about Horizon House when we talk to friends.
Judy, or I think it was $2,725. Am I right? It's close. Okay, Elizabeth.
I was thinking it was 2,775. Sorry, we didn't come prepared to give you that. Next slide, please. This month, December, as president of the Residents Council, I'm directed by our bylaws to make this annual report to indicate how the council's purposes were accomplished. The purposes as stated are as follows: to enhance the quality of life of all residents through activities that include educational forums, social and cultural events, and the selection and placement of artworks, and to represent the residents of Horizon House in matters of common interest, and to make recommendations as appropriate to the CEO, the administrative staff, and the Board of Trustees of Horizon House. The response, though, organize and coordinate the social, educational, and cultural activities of the residents through the work of its committees, and fund these activities from the proceeds of the sales of the money market, and communicate to the administration and on long-range plans affecting residents. Okay, in the first 2 months of the council's calendar year, education of the council members regarding its functions, purpose, and relationship to the administration and Board of Trustees was my focus. The various coordinators on the council worked diligently and effectively this year toward encouraging and assisting fulfilling their purpose. Regularly, I have met with the CEO and to convey concerns of the residents and share responses as well as represent the council on the philanthropy committee, attend the meetings of the Board of Trustees, and serve on the CEO search committee. Next slide. January 2022 also began with the appointment of Jennifer Stucker and Barbara McCard to replace the retiring co-directors of the money market, which is an essential arm of the Residents' Council. They are predicting an income of $100,000 for budgeting purposes for the full fiscal year, which ends in April. I know of no other name for that than thanks to standing leadership and their team for their essential support to this invaluable organization. Officially appointed to organize the contents of many cardboard boxes, and with her name, Marianne Mira, storing the contents of manageable and easy access in cabinets with a plan to collect and retain the most historically significant records. At the first of this year, pandemic restrictions, and we were able to hold 2 meetings in this hall before it was closed for reconstructions. We were then forced to again hold our meetings on Zoom and HHTV, and the Farside update was completed soon after, and it became possible to date an open audience, though reduced in number, and with many of you forced to stand, it worked fairly well, with some glitches along the way. Next slide. In February, it was announced that the clinic would be closed, and residents were directed to move away from focus of place and focus instead of nearby medical institutions. Services, however, and a staff registered nurse is on call 24/7 and available to residents for emergency use. Early in the year, the Board of Trustees announced a proposal to build a new tower to replace the West Wing. Concern grew among residents despite a series of small group sessions held by the administration. Concern and agitation by some West Wing residents resulted in the Residents' Council sending a formal recommendation to the administration that they make every effort to plan alternative housing on the campus for affected residents during the construction of a new tower in the West Wing location. The CEO and president of the Board of Trustees responded by saying that that is and has been their goal from the start. Further, residents' anxieties and concerns were addressed by the administration and resident leaders by holding individual household interviews to assess the needs and concerns of those who would be displaced or affected by a new construction. Transparency regarding plans and changes in the plans has been the purpose of the administration since that announcement. Frequent written notices and reports are being provided to us residents. Next slide. In March, the Residents' Council Vice President for Administration, Carol Roach, held the first of 3 orientation sessions for new residents this year. Opportunities for types of involvement and encouragement to engage were provided by the Residents' Council, plus the council's function and purpose were explained. In April, residents from the Election Forum Committee of the council, along with other residents, participated in planning a Zoom meeting with the newly elected Seattle Mayor and Mayor Harrell was formally invited by our CEO and 2 other leaders of local retirement residences to address the state of downtown Seattle with particular attention to public safety. In July, the annual picnic was reformed as a brunch with a pajama party theme and was well attended with many in their bedroom attire. And that was because of the sunshine at the usual picnic time, and we didn't have covers adequate for the purpose, which we now will have in the future. In August, the council held a reception to celebrate the 60th anniversary of the Residence Council. 7 former council presidents provided anecdotes about their terms of leadership. A champagne toast was provided by the administration. And then the standing room only event was followed by a array of reviews I still am receiving. And one comment following the event was, I quote, "It is a story that needs to be told more often because the residents' role here at Horizon House is unique among retirement communities across this nation." At the request of the CEO, the council planned more events to bring residents together following so many months of isolation, lack of activity, and malaise. And in August, September, October, and November, the council provided 4 happy hours, which were attended by about half the residents, I would guess, in this community, it seemed. Many thanks go to Oliver and the food service team for such successful and delightful events. Next slide. In September, residents were reassured when the administration hired extra security following a breach in security and a spate of thefts reported by residents. Thievery has been a result of reduced police coverage within this city, we were told, and the enhanced security is needed. In October, October itself brought the threat of new COVID variant outbreaks and the need for additional booster shots due to Lori Warfield Larson's persistence and the encouragement of council members. A COVID clinic was organized, and this was despite the lack of pharmaceutical support and availability of vaccine. The administration, with the timing of this event, had by then arranged for residents to receive 5 COVID-related shots since 2020, above and beyond the usual annual flu shot clinics. Thanks from all of us, I assume, for their support in avoiding a huge unhealthy impact in our community. November was the month when council members were invited by the Board of Trustees to join focus groups in the search for a new Horizon House CEO who is scheduled to take office in August of 2023. Council members were asked to describe the special qualities of Horizon House that characterize us as having a resident-driven culture, and to describe the qualifications we expect from a new CEO. Okay, a required triennial audit of the council finances was performed by resident John Guinab, according to the bylaws of the resident council. That was another November activity. Also, there were 2 council member openings during the year. In both cases, replacements were elected immediately to fill those vacancies on the council. The annual election of 5 new council members to replace the 5 retiring members was also held in November, with new members prepared to begin council service on January 1. The Employee Recognition Fund Drive to collect funds to provide gift checks to our employees culminated in a party in early December at which the checks were distributed. And this year, the residents contributed, I'll repeat, $465,500 plus for that purpose. Next slide. Over the year, I met monthly with the CEO to discuss concerns of the council as prescribed by the bylaws. Most resident council committees met regularly on Zoom and HHTV or within the campus in any way or anywhere they could. And those required small audiences found it possible toward the end of the year to meet in the Fireside Lounge with an audience. Thankfully, the Sky Lounge reopened in great demand for several recent months. And someday we're going to laugh, remembering having met in the terrace dining room between meals and on B1 and in the F-level game rooms, in the gymnasium between or following exercise classes. Events and operations manager Risa Ransom and the concierge managed to find some temporary space for gatherings for most events, and we are truly grateful for their support to keep our programs and activities functioning. At the beginning of this year, again, an ad hoc committee was appointed to select specific council committees to be spotlighted at each of our monthly meetings. 19 of them out of 62 made presentations during the year's public meetings. About 43 others didn't even have the opportunity. And so brief summaries of their reports will be included in the minutes of this meeting. A few which I selected for recognition today are, next slide. The 60-member library committee added 235 books to their Horizon House library collection. They also provided books for sale at the money market every month. The Wellness Committee drew from the report of the Mental Health Advisory Group, and in discussions with the wellness staff, 3 areas of concern are now their focus: healthy lifestyles, coping skills, living with chronic illness, and mindfulness named as a key option for addressing these concerns. Challenges to Medicare resulted in their booking a special lecturer on that topic. The Let's Talk Science Committee brought to HHTV presentations on astronomy, evolution, climate change, stress, and artificial intelligence. The Woodshop Committee again created wooden toys and puzzles for distribution to launch learning centers. What would we do without our photography committee, which works the crowds at every event involving Horizon House? Photos at 16 events were taken and posted this year, and that included 2 90-year-olds' birthday parties. Next slide. In October, the residents elected 5 new members of the council to replace the 5 retiring at the end of December, and they are Jeff Graham, Ned Lang, Ann Kelly, Karen Smith, and Sam Sperry. Would you stand, please, one more time so they know who you are? In November, a slate of very able council officers was elected for this coming year, and they are Deanna Nelson as president, Carol Roach as vice president for administration, Ned Lang as vice president for programs, Nancy McReynolds as secretary, and Karen Smith, treasurer. Would you please stand? Next slide, please. At this last meeting of the calendar year, I must show appreciation to those who are retiring from the council, having completed their terms of service. And they are Nancy Coe. And as I name you, would you stand? She's coordinated the arts participation in games committees. Beth Davis, who served as executive assistant and coordinator of B2 activity rooms. Paul Parham, who coordinated environment and discussion groups. Diane Tinker, who served as president of as treasurer and chaired the budget committee. And then, of course, myself. So would you folks stand and be recognized? Thank you for your service. The last slide is the contribution of time and energy of our two co-directors of the Monday Market and their 40-member volunteer team can't be thanked enough. Also, the leadership of 17 officers and coordinators on the council. The contributions of all who were especially appointed for council support and governance included Lila Doyle, the office manager and assistant treasurer, Dave Schaup, finance committee, Marianne Mira, archivist, and John Guinet, our financial auditor. Again, the effort and creativity of the 62 council committees and activities are to be thanked. And above all, residents, all of you who are involved on our nominating committees, and especially those willing to lead activities and chair or co-chair committees. All of you are to be thanked. And all of this that I have just read to you is proof of the continued success. I'm sorry. Of the Resident Council and speaks well for its future. I say hooray. You're going to introduce Wilton Fowler. Wilton here has chaired one of our committees very well. He's going to introduce our next speaker. Wilton has chaired more than one of our committees. He's chaired two different groups for 2 years, no, 1 year now, and you have 2 years to go, right? And he served on the finance committee and the bylaws committee. That's a lot of work.
Thank you very much, Nancy. I'll be brief. We're here this morning in good part to hear from, okay, I'll take it off. Thank you. I will be brief. Nancy Federici moved into Horizon House in 2007. By the time of the next year, she was chair of the Wednesday Night Live Committee. She's been invaluable in that position. I think we could sum up much of her contribution by giving credence to her statement that music is her life. I'm delighted to present to you, Nancy.
Thank you, Will. I just drove my Ferrari up here to the counter. We've been called fettuccine most of our lives. So that was a new one. Well, thank you. Well, as he mentioned, yes, music has been my life, all my life. Ooh, this has wheels. Better be careful. Yeah, people wonder why I have taken on the Wednesday Night Live and why we changed its name from the lounge program. We decided we weren't quite a lounge anymore. So we turned it to the Wednesday Night Live. Yes, my degrees are in vocal music, vocal performance, and conducting. And I've spent my entire life, not after working a 40-hour week with my husband, going into music in the evenings. And yes, it has been my life. I've worked with theater, I've worked with opera, I've worked with symphony, I have sung professionally. Yeah, but that's all in my past. Now I have you to sit and enjoy the programming that we have been doing all these times. How many of you have never seen a live, I say live, Wednesday Night Live? How many new ones are in this room who have not a real clue as to what we have really been doing? We bring in top performers from this whole area into this place for you to enjoy. Since the beginning of COVID, we had to withdraw. In fact, I can remember one of my meetings, Risa walked in and said, "We are now closed. The building will not reopen." The next day, I had Seattle Per Musica coming with 65 singers. So we spent that whole day working with their administration, trying to cancel all of their singers from coming in that next day. But I want you to know that with my group and with the resources that we have around the community, we've actually didn't miss one of our Wednesdays in 3 full years. We have done that. But starting in May, and this is kind of iffy and up and down, May, we will reopen for live music in this room. The reason we're holding off that long is because the performers have asked to make sure that the sound system is fully operative, that I and my committee know how to run everything in here, because I don't ask Risa to stay nights when our programs are going. And so far, in the past, we've worked it, haven't we, Risa? Thank you so much for you. And we wanted, yes, absolutely. She's really top in my book. I'll have to definitely say that. We need this hall completely finished, and the finishing point will be the chairs. And the chairs will be new, and they will be very similar to what we've had before, but with new upholstering and new coloring, and add some more life to this room. It will also take away to some of the acoustical work. And so this is why the performers want to wait until they see this room bright, acoustically live for them for probably the very, very first time. So we will begin our programs, we hope, on the 3rd of May. And as I said, I'm working with, or my committee is working with people who already have full schedules clear through 2023. So we're going to be working through professional people who have rehearsals, performances constantly, and they are going to be working us in for a pittance. And I want you to say, this is a pittance. These are people who would come normally to a place for $4,000, what can I say? Anyway, we seek out individuals in the community who can bring really good quality live music to us. Other retirement places really don't follow this performance and this type of programming. We can bring them in. Thank you to the Monday Market for using, a sizable portion, I have to admit, of the resident council monies in the budget. And I certainly appreciate it, and so do our professionals. The performers, number one, like to come here. They really do. We are number one in there. As most of them say, we are the best of the best. We give them a terrific audience that's attentive, that's knowledgeable, and also supports the arts of the community. And I think this is so important. They know from, their establishments, how many people from 900 University Street, are supporting them in the symphony and the opera and the ballets and all the other things that they do. They do love to come here and they call us. We are top dog in their performance and they're waiting for this room. We have jazz groups, we have bands, we have students from UW as well as all the high schools and performing groups that they have, symphony players, people from the opera. They come and host and enjoy it. We host large groups, performance groups, choral groups. Seattle Per Music is one of them. If all 85 of them would come, we would have trouble. But we reverse your seating so you're working down that way. If you notice, we now have hanging lights down in that end of the building too. That was designed on purpose for the larger groups that do come here. OK Corral is actually going to come in here and do a live performance in March. And that's going to be fun for them. They've been rehearsing all these 3 years, undercover in all different places. And I think they're getting tired of that one too. Northwest Girl and the Boy Choirs come every single year for us. Small ensemble from the Gay Men's Chorus, which really sets you back on your ear for a while, and they are great fun. The Bod Boys from Microsoft. The Gothard Girls with their Celtic music and their dance. Bluegrass. These are the things that we've done, and we've brought in time and time again. How many of you enjoy Gilbert and Sullivan? Yes, though they come too. If you can pick up, you won't have the subtitles, going along with all their singing. Anyway, the Paramount, ACT, and Fifth Avenue have brought performances up here as previews to what's coming for them. These programs are extremely popular. We give you classical music up close and very personal. Jazz, you don't have to go bar hopping, you can hop into here. Classical without going to Benaroya or Meany Hall. And we also retrieve some music lessons and some history of some of these people and what they do, even talking about their interesting instruments that some of them bring you've never seen before. I'm probably going to have a soprano come and she's going to give you some pedagogy on how to breathe well, because I think that's one thing that the wellness department would like to have us come in on this. We couldn't do these programs without the Monday market. Down there that's working their tails off, and my committee is just full of pleasure for being able to do each of these programs. So mark your calendars. Starting in May, we may have a few hitches where some may have to go, on our TVs, but they will be live. And what I mean when I say live is that you will have to be in this room to hear these performances. These are union musicians. We cannot film them. We cannot send them to your TVs in your rooms. You can sit out there and they could probably hear and know what's going on in here, but it will be literally live. You will have to come on Wednesday evenings. I do 40 of them a year. This eliminates the third Wednesday of each month, which is taken over by the diversity committee. So 40 of them. Mark your calendars, join us for those things. We've lost a number of our members to death, to a sort of assisted living or just aging. So think if you have any interest in keeping these programs going and joining my group, Sam and I would love it because he's working very closely. Zoa and I were both working the Monday market yesterday on checkout. I came up to her and said, "Oh, the party woman." And then she looked at me and said, "Yeah, you're the music woman. We're both going to die and be buried in Anderson Hall one of these days." So we've kind of laughed about that. Thank you for all that you do, for your interest and your support into our committee for live music live. Thank you. Now back to Lynn.
So New Year, we Anderson Hall for the pre-dinner function. There is a band, and we are probably going to be set up for people if they wish to dance. Eli says the floor is made for dancing. So we need to get a space. If for some reason not be here, like getting sick or we got snowed in, we'll find some appropriate music so you can still dance. Ooh, dining room facilities. So if you haven't made your New Year's Eve dinner arrangements, they need to be made in person at the dining room. And then afterwards, we're going to have a double movie this year. The regular movie, it starts at 7:30 on your TVs. I don't know if we can show it in here both at the same time, I'm not sure. And the second movie, which is probably going to be traditionally New Year's Eve in Paris, but it hasn't been totally decided. So we want you to feel free to wear your glitz, bring out your diamonds, put on your crowns, whatever you want, but have fun. Oh, sorry, don't have my. Deanna Nelson is going to now tell you about what our future meetings will be.
Thank you, Lynn. I want to thank Elizabeth for an extraordinary report of the past year. I mean, you're going to be a hard act to follow. That's just, it was complete. It reminded me of everything we did, and it was wonderful. I'm just up here to make two announcements. One, our meetings starting in January will be on the third Tuesday as usual, except they will be in Anderson Hall at 2 p.m., which I understand was the normal meeting for the meetings before COVID. So we're going back to 2 p.m. third Wednesday of the month. And then I've been asked to make this announcement. The bookmobile will not be here today. It's been canceled. So those of you out there watching on television, the bookmobile will not be here. Thank you. And now I'd like to introduce Nancy Cope.
We should have a motto here, a thrill a moment or something. My phone rang at 10 o'clock this morning, and it was dear, wonderful, amazing Vice President for Administration, Carol Roach. She could barely talk. She said, Nancy, you're going to take my place. So, and look at how organized, hands me the script. So I am Carol Roach right now. Burning questions. Hello, everyone. It's time for burning questions. Anything residents want to ask to be answered live at the next live residents council meeting. I have two questions and answers to share with you. First, a resident who uses the fitness center regularly expressed concern about its cleanliness and also about numerous pieces of gym equipment in need of repair. Obviously, this is a concern that requires several layers of remedies. Brian Byers, Associate Director of Operations, let me know that Barbara Brown, Environmental Services Manager, and Andrew Hill, Wellness Director, have been meeting to ensure that the fitness center is cleaned correctly and frequently. The resident who submitted the questions has already let me know that the fitness center is now much cleaner. Also, Andrew Hill, Director of Wellness, has responded to the concerns. The regular maintenance of the gym ended when COVID became a chronic issue, and Andrew reports that he is working with a new vendor to resume routine equipment maintenance. Some of the concerns, tape, to mend handles and seats, for instance, are temporary measures that are unattractive but do not make the equipment less safe. A great deal of the equipment is quite old and heavily used. Part of the BEAM Center initiative is to gradually exchange older equipment for new machines that are more effective and user-friendly. Because of the cost, we must replace equipment gradually. Safety, of course, is always a top concern. Andrew urges any resident or staff person who believes a piece of equipment to be unsafe to meet with him in person or leave him a note if he is teaching a class. He will respond promptly. Second question. A different resident has asked for the reasoning about the $50 room charge for the residents' use of the private dining room. Jeff Townley, Director of Dining Services, offers this response. This is a great question and one that we've already had several inquiries about. There has always been a $50 room fee for the PDR. And I just want to say I have been here long enough to remember there was a time when that wasn't true. So that, yeah, let me continue. He says there has always been a $50 room fee for the PDR. I believe that it wasn't consistently applied in the past. Whoa. Every public room at Horizon House, e.g. Sky Lounge, has a fee attached also. Industry standards are that any private dining room does incur extra charges. Now it's your chance. If you have a concern about anything related to our Horizon House community, please see me in the fireplace lounge or wherever I am right after the meeting. I'll be there for at least 30 minutes. So bring your burning questions to the fireplace. I'll be at the fireplace, but stop everything. Elizabeth Hoover, please come up and join me. And these are Carol Roach's words that she wrote. Are you ready? Yeah. I want to take this opportunity to yeah, you're right. Thank you so much. I want to take this opportunity to express publicly the appreciation of this council and of this community for your dedicated service as Residence Council President throughout the last year. Your deep respect for Horizon House and for the role of Residence Council has shown through in the enormously careful work in your leadership this year. Are you with me? Yikes. My colleagues on the council join me in offering a token of our gratitude to you. Elizabeth, would you mind returning to, oh boy, what does it say, Elizabeth? Would you mind returning to this spot at the end of the meeting? Oh, so council members can gather around to watch you open this small gift. Oh my, oh, I should have, yeah. And to greet you personally as we draw close to the end of your year in office. Okay? Okay. Council members, if you can, come to the front for a few minutes at the end of this meeting so we can offer our thanks to Elizabeth in person. Bravo, bravo, bravo.
Thank you so much. I have to make a couple more announcements. Yeah. People are calling me just as they did Gianna. They please say this for me. So the gym committee reviews applications. Oh, there's a slide they sent me. And I'm on that committee, so I'm required to do this. I want to help them. Okay. Gym committee reviews applications submitted by residents and staff for campus improvements. They meet 4 times a year. The 2023 application deadlines are March 13 and September 11. And if you need, now, what is this? So they're looking for members for the gym committee to make selections. Is that understood? Based on this slide. And yet, is there another slide following? So, well, the 2023 application deadlines, that must be for the gym grants, are March 13 and September 11. So they need you right away to start planning, is my understanding.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah.
And today, right now, going on, they're wrapping gifts downstairs, free of charge. If you have any gifts that you want to send to family or whatever, there's a team down there doing that. And the dining services committee will have a table outside here. There goes Doris now. For you to tell them about any questions or comments that you would like to make about the food service. And don't forget Monday Market's request to gather at their table if you would like to support the Monday Market by volunteering in a way that they will describe. Okay, that's it.
Okay, let's hear one more bravo for Elizabeth at the meeting.
Isn't it wonderful to be in this room? So that's it. Oh, I always do ask, are there any questions or comments about anything that was said today here that's burning to be said? Okay. If not, then this meeting is adjourned. Sorry, I didn't understand their remarks.